Good day, folks. This is video number 17, which deals with the 3D Experience CATIA generative shape design application. I will be talking about the rotate icon. When you select the generative shape design application, there is a menu tab which says transform, and if you select that, you get a pull-up menu which discusses or gives you the opportunity to use several functionalities. I have already done access to access, affinity, and scaling, and translate, and now we're going to do rotate. Uh, yeah, rotate. When you click on the rotate icon, dialog box opens up, and there's a pull down menu which allows you to do the rotation several different ways. Now, I'm going to do one or two of them in detail, but the other ones I'll leave it at your discretion. That's because uh, it- the idea is the same, but uh, you really have to follow the instructions in the help to find out what exactly is going on. For example, if you use the second option with a rotation axis and two elements, 2 points, for example, what happens is that a line is dropped perpendicular from point one to that axis, another line is dropped from point two to that axis, and a plane is created between the rotation axis and that line, and another plane rotation axis and the other line, and basically talking about rotation of those two planes against each other. So based on these drawings, you can figure out what's going on. But I'm just going to do the first one. This same icon actually, the same functionality rotate called rotation appears in part design, and pretty much everything is the same except for this message that you get, and yeah, very much the same, which I'm not going to do. Let me go here, and what I will do is to create a surface. So here is uh, I'm going to draw a spline here. Okay, exit and extrude it. Let's make it 100. Yeah. Okay, so there is my sketch that I drew. Let me hide that thing. There's the surface that I created. Now I will create two arbitrary points. These are quite arbitrary, so let me go ahead and create 1 point wireframe, 1 point at 000. These dimensions mean nothing. And another point which I'm going to use, for example, 100 millimeter, 100 millimeter, and maybe 50 millimeters up. These numbers have no significance. Basically, I want two arbitrary points. One of them 000, the other one is there. Okay. Couple of things. When you go to transform tab, and here is rotation, you click on it. This dialog box opens up, and it says there are three ways of doing the problem: axis and angle. Okay, let me concentrate on axis and angle. For axis and angle, you have to select a direction. Now, here I did not create a. You can actually use, for example, x-axis, y-axis, etc. Or well, first of all, select the element. For the axis, I select this edge. This edge. You can create other things that you want, but here I select for element, I selected the surface. For the axis, I select this edge. Okay, and then it says angle. So let me show you what happens if I increase the angle. This is what happens. That's self-explanatory, fairly straightforward. So let me cancel that. Let's go click on it again. Rotate. Now let's do axis and two elements. So for the element is that surface. For the axis, again, I can select this, okay, this line, or any other direction that you want. For first element, I'm going to do this point. For the second element, I'm going to do this point. Notice what happens is that a line is dropped from this point to that, and a plane is passed through that line and the axis of rotation that I picked. Another plane is created by taking the line that you get from dropping a normal from this point to that axis, and a plane is passed through that line and the axis. So basically, we have two planes now. The plane from first line and the axis of rotation, the plane from the second line and the axis of rotation. Axis of rotation is common between them, and basically you can tilt this thing about that axis of rotation. So what this thing is the description that I gave you, and there are other ways of creating those two planes. So I'll leave it to you to look at these and see what you want to do. Now you go here. By the way, this also applies to solids. Okay, this also applies to solid. I'm not going to do that, but it also applies there. And then we say, okay, right there. Now, let me double click on this. There is an icon here which says duplicate. See this? Let me try another one for you. Let me delete this rotation. Delete this. Let's try again. So, for example, we go to rotate. Okay, rotate. That is the surface. There is the axis of rotation. You can use any other direction that you want. First element. Well, actually, let me try this. Let me try the following. Through axis and angle. Okay, I'll do this. Let me cancel that. Rotation, axis and angle. The surface is my element. The axis, I decided to pick that edge. Angle right there. And then you can check this box which says repeat object after validation. Say OK. And then you say OK. It says how many of these do you want? Let's say I want 4 of them. And we say OK. There we are. Now, let me undo this. Control Z. Let me do it one more time. Rotation. Axis and angle. There's the surface. There's the axis. Let me make this thing 45 degrees. I'll make it 30 degrees. 30 degrees. And click on the repeat object after validation. Say OK. Now here, let's make this thing 4 or 5. Here there is an absolute and there is a relative. If you do relative, you can actually change the plane if you want. So let me click on it and say OK. All right. Now, if you do relative, then you can go and actually change those things. See that there is relative angle. This one's 30 degrees. Double click on it. Let me make this thing 45 and then say OK. Notice that one of them changed. One of them changed. I can't remember. But it must be this one that changed. Okay. But if you do absolute, you cannot make that change. Let's try another one. So let's go number 6. Relative angle. I'll make this 90. Say OK. There. You can see that one of them changed to 90 degrees. You can also do the same thing with solids, but I'll leave it as it is. Or when I say solid, I mean creating volume, and you do the same thing.